natural gas and LNG is not only a transition fuel, but is a destination fuel, right? So
I want to go back to the LNG markets and dive a little deeper into that. Um, as we are seeing, there is tremendous pressure on companies in the oil and gas sector to focus on ESG considerations. And I came across a term, green LNG. I'd love to find out what that means, right? And how are you? What shifts are you seeing? Are you finding customers are picking the phone and calling you and saying, Marco, we need to take care of ESG, the projects that we are now going to commission, the projects that we are going to approve, these need to take ESG consideration. How is all of this shifting? And also, if you would help us understand what is green LNG.
absolutely. I would say, starting from your first part of the question, I think natural gas and LNG is not only a transition fuel, but is a destination fuel, right? So I would say the natural gas will be an important part of the energy system for decades to come. However, emissions are the problem. And so yes, the emission piece is what we need to go after. And we do need to accelerate in meeting zero targets. I think what you're referring as green LNG is a system where you can monitor, report, and certify the greenhouse gas intensity of the gas that you're selling via LNG throughout the value chain. Okay. So imagine you are an LNG plant, so you're downstream your wellhead, you're downstream your pipeline, your gathering system, and your distribution system. If you can monitor, report, and certify what is the carbon that you are inputting or taking out from the gas throughout the value chain, upstream the LNG facility and inside the LNG facility, then you have a differentiated product as a green LNG, as you were mentioning, into the market. You can tell the consumer of the LNG, obviously, not only the CO2 that comes out from the combustion or the CO of the LNG itself, but also what is the carbon that is included to the delivery of the LNG into the market. I would say, and that makes it a differentiated product. I think as far as what can be done, I would say first and foremost, if you follow, we agree with the Paris Accord mandates, and if you run an analysis, 37% of what's needed to reach the Paris Accord level will come from energy efficiency. In other words, it's coming from today's technology, making what we do every day, including LNG, more efficient. And we have inarguably the most efficient pieces of equipment, that allow you to liquefy natural gas into LNG, which means we are the first enabler of reducing emissions into any LNG plant. The second thing that we do and that we see customer doing is, as I was saying earlier, look at ways to apply technology to reduce potential methane leaks across the upstream, the midstream, and in the LNG downstream plant itself. Okay. And third, what customers are exploring is, once that carbon is in fact produced, then how do you capture it and store it so that you can decarbonize the LNG and meeting the net zero challenge that the Paris Accord has given us.
Yes, yes, reducing.
And we support all three of the mandates that I was telling you earlier, right?
Yeah.
So the reduction of emissions, the reduction of fugitive emissions, of methane fugitive emissions, and third, the carbon capture, sequestration, utilization, and storage.
And do you feel confident that we have the engineering, we have the technology and the processes to be able to make those three aspects execute well?
I think the technology that we have available to us today can deliver significant emission reductions, but they are insufficient alone to meet the Paris Agreement goal.
Okay.
So we need to first implement the efficiency measures that I was talking about. That will take care of that famous 37% of emissions reduction needed, okay?
Yes.
While we continue to invest and partner in different ways to come up with the technology needed for reaching the net zero targets.
Yes, you used a phrase, and we used to hear that natural gas is the bridge fuel. You shared today that it needs to be the destination fuel. So then my question is, if in order for natural gas to become a destination fuel, right, where it is good for society and it's self-sufficient and it has a place in the energy value chain, what level of improvement in the emissions reduction and emissions capture, whether emissions reduction through flaring or as you coined it, fugitive emissions, right? And then ultimate carbon capture along the entire value chain, not just when it is being produced and liquefied into LNG and transported, but when it is being consumed by the consumer, right? And that whole value chain, how big is that challenge, and how much progress has to be made where society turns around and looks at LNG and natural gas and deems it to be a destination fuel?
Well, several considerations. Obviously, natural gas is by far the less emitting of any other hydrocarbon, right?
Yes.
And it's probably the fastest, the most dispatchable and flexible source of fuel of all of them. So there is, we believe that natural gas will have a place and a stage for many, many years to come in the energy mix, okay? The other thing that we need to remember that natural gas is is a feedstock for many important things.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It's a feedstock for ethylene, which is the polymer, the key polymer for any polymer in the world, and therefore for any plastic. Okay. It's feedstock for fertilizers.
Yes.
So any agricultural fertilizer it comes effectively from natural gas, and as of today is the most effective source to produce hydrogen, right? Via steam methane reformer. So
Yes.
if you want to produce hydrogen and be part of the hydrogen economy,
Yes.
today the most effective way to produce it is via natural gas, and there is ways that you can reduce the emissions basically to zero by coupling it to a carbon capturing,
Yes.
a sequestration, or coupling that to green sources of power.
That hydrogen plant that you built in Italy, was that considered a success by the country? And did they build more of those?
I would say it was a pilot plant. It's definitely a success. I think Italy is definitely switching or participating, in Europe in general, is participating to building an hydrogen economy slowly.
Yes.
For example, have entered into a partnership with Snam, which is the Italian pipeline company,
Okay.
a pipeline infrastructure company, to start converting their pipeline stations to a blended mix of natural gas and hydrogen. Because,
Ah,
like I said, we have the technology to build all the way up to 100%
yes.
blend into our gas turbines. So hydrogen will take time, but I think it will be another key component into the energy mix as well.